Gon the Fox. This is a story I heard from a grandfather named Mohei in my village when I was little. Once upon a time, there was a small castle near our village called Nakayama, and there was a feudal lord named Nakayama. In the mountains, a little ways away from Nakayama, there was a fox named Gon. Gon was a lonely little fox, and he lived in a hole in the forest where many ferns grew. Gon would come out to the nearby village night and day and do all kinds of mischief. He would sneak into the fields and dig out potatoes. He would set fires to bundle of rapeseed that has been dried in the sun. Played various pranks, for example, he plucked off bundles of peppers hanging in the back of the farmhouse. It was one autumn. It had been raining for 2 or 3 days. Gon couldn't go outside, so he stayed in his hole and waited for the rain to stop. When the rain stopped, he felt relieved and went out of the hole. The sky was clear, and the song of the butcherbird was echoing around him. Gon came out to the bank of the stream in the village. The drops of the rain were still shining on the ears of pampas grass. The river was filled with water after 3 days of rain. The pampas grass and bush clover along the riverbanks, which would not normally be in the water, were lying on their sides of the muddy yellow water and swaying. Gon walked along the river. Gon looked down and saw a man in the middle of the river. Gon walked quietly into the deep grass and peeked through a gap in the grass, so as not to be seen. It must be Hyoju, thought Gon. Hyoju was soaked in the water up to his waist and was swinging a net, which was used to catch fish. He had a headband around his head, and a round bush clover leaf was stuck to his cheek like a large mole. After a while, Hyoju picked up the backmost part of the net, which looked like a sack, out of the water. Inside was a jumble of grass roots, grass leaves, and rotten bits of wood. It was the belly of a fat eel or a river fish. He threw the eel and fish covered in rubbish into his fish basket, then tied the top of the net bag and put it back into the water, then took his fish basket and climbed out of the river, left it on the bank, and ran upstream, seemingly searching for something. When Hyoju was gone, Gon jumped out of the grass and ran to the fish basket. He wanted to play a little mischief. He grabbed the fish out of the basket and threw it downstream from where the net was hung. All the fish made a thumping sound as they dove into the muddy water. At last, Gon tried to catch a thick eel, but the eel's body was too slippery for him to hold on to. Gon became impatient and put his head inside the fish basket and held the eel's head in his mouth. The eel squeaked and wrapped itself around Gon's neck. At that moment, Hyoju came from the other side and said, "Hey, thief!" Gon was startled, then he jumped up. He tried to shake off the eel and run away, but the eel would not let go of the lampreys that were still wrapped around his neck. Gon jumped out to the side and ran away in a panic. When he looked back under the tree near the river, by the cave, he saw that Hyoju was not chasing him. Gon was relieved, and he bit the eel's head off and set it on the blade of grass near the hole. About 10 days later, Gon passed behind the house of a farmer named Yasuke, and there, under the shade of a fig tree, was Yasuke's wife with ohaguro makeup. When Gon passed by the house of the blacksmith Shinbei, Shinbei's wife was combing her hair. Gon thought, something must be going on in the village. What is it? Is it an autumn festival? If it is a festival, there should be the sound of drums and flutes. Besides, there should be banners on the shrine. While many thoughts came across his mind, Gon came to Hyoju's house, which had a red well in the front. There were many people gathered inside the small broken-down house. Women in formal kimonos with tenugui hand towels on their waists were lighting a fire in the front pot. Something was simmering in a large pot. Oh, it's a funeral, thought Gon. I wonder who in Hyoju's family died. Afternoon, Gon went to the village cemetery and hid himself behind a Rokujizo statue. It was a beautiful day, and the roof tiles on the castle shone in the distance. In the cemetery, there were red spider lilies, flowers blooming all over the place like red rags. Then, from the village came the sound of bells ringing. It was the signal for the funeral. Soon, Gon began to see people in the funeral procession dressed in white kimonos coming toward him. The sound of people talking could be heard nearby. The funeral procession was entering the cemetery. After the procession has passed, the red spider lily flower was trampled. Gon stood up and looked. Hyoju was wearing a white hakama and holding a mortuary tablet in his hand. Usually, his face was as red and cheerful as sweet potato, but today, it has somehow wilted. I see. It was Hyoju's mother who died, Gon thought, and pulled his head back. That night, Gon thought in his hole. Hyoju's mother must have been bedridden, and she wanted to eat eels. So Hyoju brought out a net. But then I played the trick and took the eels. That's why Hyoju couldn't make his mother eat the eels. As it was, his mother must have died. Oh, she died wanting to eat eels. I wish I hadn't done such naughty thing. Hyoju was washing wheat at the red well. Hyoju had been living a poor life alone with his mother, and now that she was dead, he was all alone. Hyoju is all alone, thought Gon. Just like me. Gon was watching from behind the storage room. As Gon was about to leave the storage room to go in the other direction, he heard the voice of a fish peddler somewhere. Sardines at a bargain price! They're fresh sardines! Gon ran toward the sound of the fish peddler's voice. Then Yasuke's wife came out of the back door and said, "Give me some sardines." The sardine vendor put his car with a basket of sardine on the side of the road, grabbed the shiny sardines with both hands, and carried them into Yasuke's house. Gon grabbed 5 or 6 sardines out of the basket and started to run in the direction from which he had come. Then he threw the sardines into the house from the back door of Hyoju's house and ran back to the hole of the nest. On the way up the hill, he saw Hyoju still washing wheat at the well. Gon thought that he had done one good thing for the eel atonement. The next day, Gon went to the mountain and picked up a lot of chestnuts. He went to Hyoju's house with them. When he peeked in through the back door, he found Hyoju, who was about to eat his lunch, sitting with his bowl in his hand, thinking in a daze. Strangely, Hyoju had a scratch on his cheek. While Gon was wondering what happened to him, Hyoju began talking to himself. "Who threw all those sardines in my house?" Because of that, the sardine shop owner thought I had stolen sardines. He gave me such a hard time. Gon thought this was a mistake. Poor Hyoju. He was beaten up by the sardine shop owner, and he even got a wound for it. With this thought in his mind, Gon quietly went around to the storage room and left the chestnuts at the entrance. The next day, and the day after that, Gon picked up chestnuts and brought them to Hyoju's house. The next day, he brought not only chestnuts, but also 2 or 3 matsutake mushrooms. It was a beautiful night with a beautiful moon. Gon went out for a walk. He passed under Nakayama's castle and went a little further. He heard someone coming from the other side of the narrow road. He could hear their voices. Pine crickets were chirping around. Gon hid on one side of the road and remained still. The voices became closer and closer. It was Hyoju and a farmer named Kasuke. Hey, Kasuke?" said Hyoju. "Oh, yeah. You know, there's been strange things going on lately." "What is it?" "Ever since my mother died, people from who knows where has been giving me chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms and other things day after day." Like who?" "I don't know. They leave them for me without me knowing." Gon followed them steadily. "Hey, are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure. If you think I'm lying, come and see tomorrow and I'll show you the chestnuts." "Well, strange things do happen." With that, the two of them walked away without a word. Kasuke suddenly looked back. Gon was surprised that he thought he had been noticed, and he froze. Kasuke did not notice Gon and started walking again. Eventually, they came to the house of a farmer named Kichibei. The sound of wooden gong being struck echoed from the house. A light shone on the shoji screen, in the shadow of a large shaved head moving. Gon crouched down by the well, thinking, "There is an onenbutsu chant here, isn't there?" After a while, 3 more people went into the house. The praying voices grew louder. Gon crouched down by the well until the onenbutsu chant finished. Hyoju and Kasuke went back together again. Gon followed them, hoping to hear what they had to say. Gon walked along, stepping on Hyoju's shadow that fell on the road in the moonlight. When they came to the castle, Kasuke said, "About what you said earlier, it must have been God's doing." "What?" Hyoju was surprised and looked at Kasuke's face. "You know, I've been thinking about it ever since, and it seems to me that it's not a person. It's God. God feels sorry that you're all alone and gives you all kind of blessings." Is that so? "Of course, so you should thank God every day." Gon thought, "Well, this is very disappointing. I've brought you chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms, but if you don't thank me and instead thank the gods, I'm not worth all the trouble." The next day, Gon went to Hyoju's house with the chestnuts. Hyoju was making rope in the storeroom. Gon sneaked in through the back door of the house. Then Hyoju suddenly looked up. He looked towards the house and saw a fox going inside. He thought to himself, "Gon, the fox who stole my eel the other day has come back to play a trick on me. All right." Hyoju stood up, took the gun that was hung in the barn, and filled it with gunpowder. He quietly approached Gon the Fox with his footsteps stealthy. Gon tried to leave the back door. Hyoju shot Gon. Gon fell on the ground. Hyoju came running to the house. When he looked inside the house, he saw that there were many chestnuts on the earthen floor. Hyoju looked at Gon, who was lying on the floor, startled, and said, "Gon, it was you. It was you who always brought me chestnuts." Gon nodded with his eyes closed. The gun fell out of Hyoju's hand. The blue smoke was coming out of the muzzle of the gun.